Opening day is upon us, and will the Phillies get it done in 2025? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Philly Sports Now, a Philly fan podcast. My name is Zach. With me is Andrew, and we're back to talk all things Philly sports now that the Phillies opening day is here on Thursday, March 27th. This podcast will be going up on YouTube and Spotify. Make sure you go check us out. And this will happen before the first pitch of opening day. This will be releasing Thursday, March 27th in the morning. Very excited to get the season going. We've been talking about this season for what feels like months at this point. I mean, the Eagles won the Super Bowl in February. I guess it has been close to 2 months now, because it's like as soon as the Super Bowl was over, it was celebrate the Eagles and anticipate the Phillies. And we're finally here. It's opening day. We're playing in Washington against the Nationals. We're going to talk predictions. We're going to talk expectations. We're going to talk some lines. It's all here, folks. Andrew, how excited are you to finally be talking Phillies season baseball?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm very excited. I mean, this is my favorite sport, baseball. Favorite team in Philadelphia, the Phillies. So I can't be more excited for opening day. It's one of the best days of the year. You know, I get to watch baseball all day, especially the Phillies. And it's finally here. I'm excited to see what the season brings after the way last year ended. And I think we have a lot to be excited for.
I agree. You know, we've definitely talked about it, but we'll do a little recap with the season starting. The end of this 2024 season, definitely a disappointment. We go back and forth. I think it's the most disappointing year in the, I'll say, Bryce Harper era. Do we have a better name for this era? Is it the Harper era? Do we have something like, it's not like this is the dream team.
It's the Harper era. You can't get much better than that.
I agree. So in the Harper era, I think it's the most disappointing finish. I know most people, you included, still say the Diamondbacks year was the most disappointing finish. I totally understand. We're not getting in this argument, but regardless, last year was not a great finish. It's exciting to see the 2025 season. And I have to say, I'll get into my first line here, which is I have here that the Phillies overall wins are in DraftKings are at 91.5. So an expected 92 wins. I believe it can be found at 90 some places, maybe even 89.5.
90.5 on FanDuel.
90.5 on FanDuel.
Yep.
So we're talking like 91, 92. Expectations are high. Listening to a podcast today that Andrew recommended to me, and for you guys, that's our podcast. Don't worry about anyone else. But Phillies are probably the second most hyped team this year. I'll say behind the Los Angeles Dodgers, the World Series reigning champions. I think that's fair. I think it's crazy exciting. I think it's great. And I think the Phillies are here for this year. Now, the Phillies can get in the playoffs, certainly without getting to 90 wins, with the wild card at the end of the year. There's certainly options, but I think this Phillies team, which is on a nonstop train to the World Series or bust, you got to assume they're going for their division. And so I do think they hit 91. That 91, 92 is a pretty stark difference, I would say. It's a tough line to have that one game difference. Even like 90, 91 would be a little softer. That 91, that 92, it's a hard 92.
That's rather good at it.
Yeah, it's tough. But yes, I'm excited. I can't express how excited I am. Going to absolutely watch on a weekly basis. Speaking of weekly basis, give a schedule update for the podcast with the Phillies being in active season mode coming up, starting now. I do want to say we are planning on keeping Philly Sports Now a weekly podcast for the foreseeable future at Thursdays as their main release date. So please look forward to that. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube for the Philly Gamer if you haven't, and follow us on Spotify, Philly Sports Now. So that being said, opening day, Washington Nationals. We have Zach Wheeler starting us off. The strongest one in the bunch, of course. got to open with him, and I believe by opening with him, that lets him play in Philadelphia in the second series. So it's all, it's all chess match, and we're starting it off quick and strong here for the Phillies, and it's exciting. We could talk roster spots, we can talk the game against the Nationals, the series against the Nationals. Andrew, where do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, before we could save the actual matchups for the end. We could start with the season outlook and the way spring training ended and how the final roster spots that concluded. But like you said, Wheeler gets the opening day start for the second straight year, which well deserved. He's been in that runner up in Cy Young 2 straight years. So I mean that came no surprise there. And like you said, he gets to pitch the second home game now, in Citizens Bank Park after Christopher Sanchez takes the home opener. So Wheeler gets the opening day nod. Chris Sanchez, very good pitcher last year, elevated his game, gets opening day, or sorry, the home opener in Philadelphia, which will also be exciting there.
I think the only starting pitcher that people are concerned about, reasonably so, is Taijuan Walker. And the only reason he's starting is because we have Ranger Suarez coming into the season injured already.
Yeah, it's a shame to see Ranger go. He would have been a very good fourth or fifth option, depending on how they would have shaked out the rotation that way. You couldn't ask for a much better option there late in your starting rotation. Like you said, Tawan Walker gets the nod. Unfortunately, I would have went a different direction. But again, we'll see how he is to start the year. He'll get probably 3 starts, so he's got to help you survive 3 starts and go from there. It sounds like
And I
Ranger.
mean, I was just gonna say early season, like I hate to say it like this, but you can afford 3 losses early season if Taijuan Walker is the only three. You know what I mean? Like it's not
Yeah,
the
but
worst thing in the
that's
world.
banking on you win all the other games, though.
It's true. It is
In
that is
that case,
absolutely true.
but yeah, and it sounds like Rangers doing better. But to your point, it's because it's early in the year. The injury set him back in spring training a little bit, so it sounds like he's kind of finishing that spring training workload more than anything. Because he is throwing again, so that's the good sign. Is it sounds like the back issue is more of a setback to his rhythm to get ready to go.
I also think it's just smarter to not rush an injury this early in the season. Like
Yeah.
I said, like with you hate to waste games, absolutely, but you'd rather keep the players healthy than hurt them early. It's a sport. It is a long sport. It is the long con, and we've talked about that before. And I just think it's a stupid thing to rush Suarez into the lineup as a injured player.
No, I completely agree with you there. And hopefully, you get your young prospect eventually up late in the year, and Andrew Painter. He's coming off that injury as a young prospect, and hopefully he might be another depth piece here late in the season if injuries continue to be a battle, and he'd be another option there late in the season once he's fully healthy. So again, this team they got some depth on the team, which I'm excited for, and creates more excitement. So, but for me, that second start too is another new incomer in Jesus Luzardo, which is going to be a fun guy to watch as well. You picked him up in the offseason, so and he'll be a number 2 starter in Washington as well. So again, this rotation is going to be a fun team, and it's fun too to look at when you don't see it too many times. And I know that last year, I think the Phillies were really bad. If not the first year, they started turning the corner. We didn't have a left-handed starter. Now it's funny when fully healthy and Rangers good to go. You got 3 left-handed starters in that starting rotation, which is not a usual sequence you see there. So something different as well to notice.
Well, I'm gonna go off of something you said there, Andrew, which was a newcomer, and I was gonna bring up at some point how it's funny the Phillies don't really have major changes to, I'll say, the batting lineup, right? It's one new addition which is causing some shifting, and we also have some shifting to the lineup itself, although nothing official for the season. We'll have to wait and see until opening day, unfortunately. But that being said, it's a lot of changes not to the or sorry changes to the team not in the batting lineup, such as Luzardo being added on. um how do you feel the offseason additions to the pitching, the starting and relief, has affected this team going into this new season?
Yeah, overall, top to bottom, I like it. I think that the names the Phillies added are very good. The problem The only problem with it is, and it stinks to say because you're already dealing with Ranger, but some of these guys have to stay healthy. And you replace Jeff Hoffman, one of your closers from last year, with a guy named Jordan Romano, who a great pickup. When he's healthy, he's very good. He's coming in with good velocity in spring training. The problem is he only threw 5 games last year due to an arm injury. So you're banking on him coming back and staying healthy. So that's going to be your new late inning guy to replace Hoffman there, and obviously that's a big question mark when a guy only threw 5 games last year. So that's my biggest concern with the moves the Phillies made in the offseason is can these guys stay healthy, and that's where it's gonna rely on, and that's where it becomes a question too is did they do enough depth moves in case these guys can't stay healthy because you're banking on Romano to replace Hoffman. Well, if he goes down like he did last year, who's that next guy to step up? And they signed a guy named Joe Ross who's bounced back and forth from being a starter and reliever in his career. And I'm excited for him as well. He's a good long man reliever. And actually, that's the guy I would have rather see the Phillies try as the starter to see what he had as that fifth spot because he's bounced around in that spot before and moved Walker to the pen. But we'll see how it goes. But in terms of those two arms, I think they're good pickups for what you needed. Again, when Romano is healthy and out there, he's a good pitcher, and Ross is a good middle inning guy, long man reliever there, and it's going to be exciting to see in that sense. And hopefully, it goes a long way, and this team's able to stay healthy. Another one, Matt Strom, he's expected to make the opening day roster. We won't know officially till Thursday,
Yeah,
but
but
he
he's
dealt with
battling an
some.
injury, right?
Yeah, so he dealt with some stuff, missed his last two starts, or not starts, sorry, last two scheduled outings in relief. So we'll see if he's ready to go for Thursday. And the last guy they just actually signed this past week, Carlos Hernandez, was didn't make the roster for the Royals. So I'm excited to see what he has. He's got high velocity arm. He's thrown well in good spots, and another guy that just didn't make the cut for that Royals team that has a deep bullpen. So you get an arm here just from the luxury of them having a deep pen and couldn't keep him. I think Hernandez could turn into a solid arm.
I gotta say, like, it's funny coming off of last season. You always bring up the insanity definition, right? Like, what do you change? Because you can't go into a season expecting better results with the exact same team. And when it came to the batting lineup, like I said, which I wanted to talk on next, which is Max Kepler being added, but really the changes were to pitching. And I really appreciate the moves that were made and think they were strong moves because I think when you look at the postseason last year, that ended up being a big issue. And I like that you're focusing on the positives of the additions we've made because I think we lost not think I know we lost a lot of pitchers to the offseason. Estevez. I really liked Estevez. Really liked Estevez. And it was kind of like crazy to see him leave right away, but I think the additions to the team are strong enough that like I'm just not that worried about it. And it's exciting to have additions to the bullpen that make you feel excited.
Yeah, no, you hit it spot on. These guys are there and can replace him. I like Estevez as well. Obviously, he had a tough time in the playoffs, but so did everybody. And I think he went to the Royals, so it was kind of almost a late swap there, right? And once we got the guy from the Royals,
Yeah.
and Hernandez, it was almost like a 1-for-1 swap in a way. But again, I think to your point too is with the minimal changes and similar to the offense, which we'll get to here in a little bit as well. But you're paying these guys already. You have to trust the guys you're giving all that money to. You got Zach Wheeler back. You got Jose Alvarado back. You extended. You got Aaron Nola. You made that Sanchez extension. You've already put all the money into those guys. This is their time. You need to trust those guys to go out there and perform in the playoffs. Like you have those guys. It's not that I think this is where it's different than where it was with the Phillies in 18-19 is back then they were afraid to spend the money. They spent the money. They got the guys in the clubhouse. I
Absolutely.
mean, you argue you got probably arguably maybe outside the Dodgers the best rotation in baseball. You're gonna
I
have you're gonna have one of the best bullpens in baseball as well. So the guys are here. It's on them to perform now. And like you said, you didn't need to go through and get trade for, or sign 4 starting pitchers.
yeah,
They're here.
I agree. And it's crazy like it's really funny looking at this team and being like No, I don't really want to make major changes. It's where can you tweak it is all it is. And I think a big thing to that is even again tweaking the lineup order come opening day. I really hope Turner comes as leadoff hitter. Like I think that's a big deal. I think that's a change and to show that Schwarber is not going to start. I think that matters. So I hope we see that continue. Something that happened in the preseason that is not confirmed but expected to happen come Thursday. Now, so let's go into the offensive line, but the offensive lineup. Let's
Hopefully,
talk.
not offensive lineman be a slow team.
But dude, I said this off camera, but man, Schwarber looks thin. I was
Yeah,
looking at him from an interview that he was doing. I don't know which game it was preseason wise, but he's looking thin. So I'm hoping he's not a little too thin. He's got to have the whole point of the DH there is having some meat on those bones.
we still gotta get our Schwarber bombs.
Yeah, that's right. Now, the one I want to talk about, I already said it. Max Kepler, coming to the preseason with a batting average of 294. He's hit 3 home runs, 9 RBIs. I I I think these are like I'm excited. I'm not nervous. I'm happy. I'm excited to see how he does on the team. I believe he's put in at left field, and he didn't play left field before, if
Correct.
my memory serves me
That's
right.
correct.
So it's cool to see, classic Phillies, or I'll say classic Harper era Phillies, which is you get the person you want and you put them where they fit on the team, right? So we've still got Casty at center, right? And
Right.
then we have who's that right field? Wait, don't tell me. Oh my gosh, I'm
No,
blanking.
it's sorry. I didn't mean. Sorry, I meant Castellanos isn't right. That's what I
Casty's
meant by
right.
right. That's what I meant by right.
So wait, and then center is the up in the air position of is it going to be Marsh or is it Rojas? And that's a back and forth fight. I'm excited to see that, to be honest, because I think those two are two of the lowest links, the weakest links on the team offensively. I think they bring a lot to the locker room, and obviously Rojas gets a lot of praise for his defense. But as far as their batting, I think it makes sense they're the ones competing for a spot. I'm okay with having both of them or either of them. I like the addition of Kepler because it then causes the competition in center field of who's going to play, and I think that brings out the best in them.
I agree with you. I think it will bring out the best of them. I'm excited to see what they have to offer. Just to touch on a few things you said here.
I know I went off a
Sorry.
little bit.
You're good. You're good. I'll start with Kepler though, because I'm very excited for this move. I know he's not the biggest name there in the free agency, but he signed a 1 year, $10 million deal. It's a prove me type contract. He had a down year last year. People are saying the best years are behind him. You have a guy in Kevin Long and a hitting coach who's very well respected, has worked with a lot of different guys' swings. And Kepler, I mean, it's amazing. He's taken a few shots at the Minnesota's organization, at their former hitting style, and he's had nothing great things to say about Kevin Long and everything. And he goes out and backs it up. Like that was in the pre-workout stuff, and then goes and backs it up through. I know it's only spring training, but he backs it up throughout spring training. I mean, he hit 375, had 3 home runs, 11 RBI. So I'm excited to hopefully see that carry into the season, and I think it could go a long way. Again, it's not the biggest name that everybody wanted. Obviously, everybody wants the guy that's going to go out there and make $30 million a year because that's the superstar, right? Well, again, similar to the pitching, that money is already going elsewhere to all the other guys, and I think Kepler's a great fit for this team. I know in right field he was a very good fielder as well, an above average fielder, and we'll see how it shifts to left field. Like you said, he hasn't played there yet, and I think it goes well too, and I think it makes your team deeper. I think it allows you to late in games when you have the lead. I think you'll see Castellanos exit the game a little bit and see Kepler go back to right, and then you get to put Rojas or Marsh, whoever's not in, for fill left field and create a very good defensive team late in games, as obviously as long as you're winning. And I think it does to what you said, Zach. You get to pinpoint where you want him. You get to throw him around and pick where you want. And it's not necessarily the guy everyone expected, but it does what you allow.
Yeah, I
And
mean, when you have a guy like Harper going and starting at first base and never playing that position before, it sets the mood for the team that you gotta if you're gonna be on this team, you gotta be able to do what's needed. And I think that's being shown here well. Another as needed and doing what's needed kind of personnel talk. It's a little off of the path of what I wanted to talk about, but I'll bring up. I don't think we talked about before. Stubbs losing position as the uh as the backup catcher. It's funny. I couldn't tell you before this generation. I couldn't tell you the last time I knew me. I'm not going to say Andrew, but me, the last time I knew the backup catcher. Like that's how much this team is loved. So to have Stubbs, a known catcher amongst the Phillies organization and fans, go down to AAA, it's sad to see him go. But again, it's small moves like this that I think can help the Phillies do better in the future. And when a position like catcher tends to bring injuries throughout the year, I forget if last year or the year before was when JT got hurt. Like, there's a good chance Stubbs comes back every now and again from the minors to the Phillies. So it's exciting to have him still be a part of this organization, even though he's just taken a step down. And kudos to him doing what's needed. He went the next day to report to the minor league team. I guess that would be the Iron Pigs, right?
Iron Pigs.
And just a man of the team, like a true team player. And I got to give him all the respect in the world for that. Andrew, I can't. It's escaping me, and I don't have it written down. If you want to talk about Stubbs, and then also your comment on who was added, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, so like you said, first Garrett Stubbs. I mean, just tremendous, like the positivity. Like I listened to an interview with him with Todd Zalecki, and it was amazing. Like the guy just got cut and sent down to, or not cut, sorry, demoted, and sent down to AAA, and they were scheduled before the news broke. They had an interview scheduled with each other, and Zalecki, obviously being the insider, gets the news, and he said Stubbs said we're still doing the interview. Like that's how much of a class act he was. Like most
That's
guys,
awesome.
you could just turn it down and be like, "Hey, I need a day." Like some, like again, this guy's been in the MLB, the Phillies backup catcher for years now, and he was that way. And just everything he said in that interview was just unbelievable. Like just a positive vibe. He texted the new catcher Rafael Marchand as the new backup, and he texted him congratulating him and everything for making this is the first time he makes an opening day roster. And I mean, how special is that? This guy just beat you out and he's texting him like. And it just shows you what kind of guy he is, what kind of vibes he brought to the team. And again, it's a shame to see him go because he did add all that, and obviously he had the whole Spotify playlist and the DJ and the clubhouse and all the fun. And unfortunately, and he said too, he knew that this was probably the way it was going to shake out with the way baseball works in the minor league system. He had an option left to be sent down. Marchand didn't have an option. So if it was reverse roles, Marchand goes to free agency and has to clear waivers, or else the Phillies lose him if he doesn't. So this was also a business decision too, on top of, Stubbs struggled last year. But on top of that, this was a true business decision, taking advantage of the options that Stubbs had and Marchand didn't, because they didn't want to lose Marchand into free agency like that, because he would have got claimed. He's supposed to be a good catcher and a highly talented player. His biggest problem right now has been the injury bug. So we'll see how much he's able to stay healthy, being JT's backup. But talent wise, I think he is going to be better than Stubbs, which then provides you the chance to get Real Muto off his feet a little bit more, keep him more fresh for a nice late postseason run. So all in all, I think this creates a better team for the Phillies. And like you said, you couldn't have asked for Stubbs to handle this any better and just
No,
create more of a vibe. And he's in
class
the
act.
interview talking about, he's naming off the AAA pitchers and stuff, and talking about how he's going to help them get to the next level, use what he's learned and help these guys at the pro level, and use that to get them ready to go for when they get called up. And it was truly unbelievable. And that's fresh off the news. It's not like, he sat back and had a week to prepare for all these questions, like, right? He did that right away. So no, a lot of credit to him, and it's a shame to see him go, but like, he'll be back up at some point this year.
I think the last thing I want to add before we move on is just that. I mean, you mentioned how he was a huge vibes guy in the locker room, real big hype man on the team, and whether you want to look at it as fortunately or unfortunately, this team's just full of hype men. Like there's like almost no bad links when it comes to good vibes on this team in this locker room. So
Yeah.
it's I'm not going to say he's not going to be missed in that way, but it's just one of those things where it's next man up, and someone steps up.
Yeah, and the other thing too on it is you tried the Vibe thing last year, right? You
Right.
tried it, and it unfortunately didn't work out. So this year, and let's be real, everybody's a year older. You got guys in their 33s, 34 now, and Schwarber's in the last year of his contract. Obviously, we hope we re-sign him, but this is going to be the last run with this core group. Like obviously, the Harper and Turners will be back, but if things don't work out, you're going to see probably Schwarber or Castellanos possibly move on. So like this is the last chance with these top like all this whole lineup of guys. So I think it was the better decision move. Yeah, I know you touched on earlier. You mentioned the potential batting order change. So that's the last thing. From that was the next thing from what you were saying. I wanted to bring up, and I think it's funny. I think Rob's really stuck on the way he wants to go. I don't think it's as locked and loaded as we expected it heading into spring with all the rumors it's going to change. I think he's going to play with it throughout the year. I really do, and I think he's going to go all matchup wise. I think against a lot of left-handed pitchers, you might see Turner leading off, and then some right-handed pitchers. You might go back to Schwarber. Is the way he might do it. For me personally, I'd start Turner. Turner would be my starting leadoff hitter for opening day, and see how it goes from there. And I know Schwarber's been the guy the last few years, but that's the one spot I think you can change. And again, I'd go. I think for me personally, I'd go Turner, Harper, Bohm, Schwarber, Castellanos, Stott, Real Muto, Kepler, and then Marsh Rojas is the way I'd go. And it's a very deep lineup. And that's the nice
Yeah.
part about this lineup is how deep it is. You can play with a few things. And for me, I like Turner at the leadoff hitter personally because it allows him to get on base. I want to see him get back to stealing bases, doing more.
Yes.
And when you're in that two spot with 3 and 4 next year, I mean, obviously it's not a bad thing if Schwarber gets on before you, but let's be real, you're not doing a double steal with Schwarber being the lead guy on base. So with Schwarber getting on base there, he kind of keeps Turner from stealing a little bit. And I think if we can get Turner back to his days of stealing, I think that's going to be huge for this team. And it allows, think about it, you get Turner on, you steal second, and now you get a run on second, nobody out with Harper, Bohm, Schwarber as your next three guys. I mean, you're going to score the majority of those times. So I'm
Yeah,
I'm all for the change.
I don't want to harp on it too much, but I will bring up the Turner aspect of this team. You know, giant contract here forever compared to Harper, comparative to Harper, and just isn't delivering to that level. Like I don't think by any means he was bad last year. Maybe you disagree, but I just don't think he's delivering to the level that he is signed to. And I think you make a great point, which is get him stealing again. And I think that's one of the best things about having him lead off, or even putting him at second, which is what we have him as against right-handed pitchers, it seems. But I think you need to get him on early so he can just run the bases, man. Like literally just run the bases, because he has to be able to get back in that rhythm. I think there were two things that kind of stopped his rhythm last year. One, first, obvious injury, and then the second, I think, was when he lost that stealing record. I forget when it happened in the year, but I remember that was a major kind of like downfall moment. Like he lost the consecutive bases stolen, uh and I really wish I remember who that was against. And I think those two things were major uh you know bluffs in his career last year. And he just, from needing the standing ovation 2 years ago to those two things happening to him last year, I think Turner's in a bit of a slump. I don't want to say he has the yips. I don't think that's quite that bad. But I think he needs to improve, and I think he needs to show his worth here this year.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm actually. I know a lot of fans get on to him because of that contract. I don't think he's that bad in terms of as most fans think he's been. I think it's because of the contract that makes it look that way.
Of course.
And fans always look at the contract. Honestly, that drives me crazy.
It's not your
Um,
money. It's not my money. What do I give a shit? You know what I
well,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
and like the guys are going to take that contract, right? That's what they're
right.
playing for. And to me, it's not about living up to the contract. They're just playing good baseball. Like I don't care. Like, listen, he got that contract when he was 29 years old, 30 years old. Like, of course, he's going to be better those days. You just hope
Like
he can
like
be
let's take a second real
comparable.
quick.
But
Let's take a second real quick and look at this roster. Like it's not like anyone's not on this team because of Turner's contract. You know what I mean?
correct, yes,
Like that's I think the issue. Like if you compare it to the Sixers, where it was Tobias Harris, right? And he was getting pretty much this kind of criticism. Harris was definitely worse, I'll say. But Tobias Harris criticism was because it kept us from having Jimmy Butler. It kept the Sixers from having different levels of players on that team. Trey Turner's contract is not keeping the Phillies from having anyone. This team does what it wants.
Correct. Absolutely. And that's the nice part about baseball is not having the salary cap, so you can do what you want. Um, I think you I think you hit it on the nose with talking about the injury. He he was the old Trey Turner, and I will die on this hill last season before that injury.
He was
And
MVP caliber.
unfortunately, it was a hamstring injury that I really don't think, and it wasn't just a quick one for him. He actually had the worst of it, and he was out, I think, just over a month. And I think he never felt comfortable going full speed again. And hopefully, that's what this offseason gets him back to doing. And he finishes the year. He finishes last year with a 338 on base percentage, a 295 average. Though that's back to what he was. That last year with the Dodgers, when you signed him, he was a 298 hitter, a 343 on base percentage, and he stole 27 bases. He stole 19 bases last year, a year ago. And I think he was that guy in that injury. He just never got back to the same turn. I just don't think he ever felt comfortable enough going from 0 to 100 again. And I think, again, I think he gets back to that. You'll see that good Turner again. And I think with that being said, I'm not worried about Turner. I think he's going to be a great player. I think, obviously he struggles at times in the field, but you, it's going to happen. And I think with him, it's you got to keep him healthy, get him at the lineup, and I think he hits the 30 mark this year in stolen bases. I truly believe that. Get him back in the leadoff spot. I think he hits 30.
I'm going to take it right now. Trey Turner over half a stolen base on Thursday at plus 265. I'm taking this. I'm making a
There you
Phillies
go.
parlay. I'm absolutely saying Trey Turner stolen base on Thursday. Now, mind you, I am a Trey Turner fan. Like, very specifically, I'm a Trey Turner fan. I really liked his activity on the Dodgers before. Not that I was like a Dodgers fan or following him then, but I really liked what he was doing, and I really liked him as an addition to this team. I'm excited to see it. I gotta hope for a solid offseason of him, running, walking, exercise bike, getting his legs in perfect shape after the injury. I'm excited. I'm really excited, and that's obviously the theme of today. Is we're just excited, and I think that's is all you can be right now. Let's take it on to. Oh man, what was the next thing we were going to talk about after the batting lineup, or was there more to talk about with the batting lineup? I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, if Turner's leading off, Schwarber's got to be the four spot with his power. You want to see Harper go up to the two. That's best suited for him. Split the lefties up in Harper and Schwarber. That way you get Bohm in the middle. And then after those got to be your top four in that situation. And then after that, you can kind of play with Castellanos. I don't like Real Muto at the five. I think he's better suited down low. Depending on lefty righty, you might move Kepler up as well. So like after those first four, you can kind of play around with it a little bit more. But I think again, when you have Marsh and Rojas as your nine hitter, I think that shows you how deep this lineup is, and that makes it more exciting in itself.
I will say one thing I want to talk about real quick regarding the batting lineup. Something you said was you think that Topper might tinker with it all season. I'm all for that. I'm all for like don't just like I don't know. I think we have to trust Rob Thompson to do what's best for this team, and I hope he does tinker because I think that's him working the team into the postseason. You have to give it your all to get us there, and as the manager, I think that's probably the biggest responsibility he has.
I'm gonna be picky here with that terminology, if that's right with you, but it depends what you mean by and
Rob
everything
Thompson versus
with
Topper. Which one are we talking about?
yeah with the word tinkering. Like if it's gonna be something every other game we're switching it, I'm not gonna like that. If it's kind of like that's worked for 5 games, now it's struggled for 2 or 3, then you switch it around, that's fine. When he talked about it, moving things around, I kind of got that like please don't be an every game thing. Like these guys do need to find some sort of rhythm and find some sort of because it does go a long way for these guys knowing where they hit. Because
Sure.
batting first or third like that changes your mentality. So these guys do need to know where
I
they're at
mean,
a little
even
bit.
Wheeler talks
So
about loving knowing his spot in the pitching lineup.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, and that's why this with Wheeler, to your point, that's why this first week with the off day Friday after opening day, they get to put Wheeler back, pitch that second game of the home series. That way he stays on that 4 game or the 4 day rest like he's used to that you talk about him liking. So I do want to be careful with how much Topper does switch it around. But yeah, I get it if he's more changing it than previous years, but just don't be an every game thing. Is all I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's a lot of
His co-
baseball.
his
There's a lot of
his
baseball, so to do it every game would be a lot.
his comments worried me a little bit. Not your terminology of tinkering, but when he talked about it the last spring training game, I was like, this could be a very frequent thing.
Now, let's move on to opening day, opening series against the Washington Nationals. Fun little division rivalry there. We've got Harper's old team, which is really funny to think about when like he's for sure been a Philly for more like he's been a Philly way more, but it's still just something I think of. I think of Harper as a National more than I think of Barkley as a Giant after one season.
That's fun. That's funny. But it's go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna get into we have with the Nationals being the second worst team in our division, it's not the I would say biggest worrisome series. I expect a series win. I expect a win with Zach Wheeler on the mound. But yeah, let's get into this opening season series.
Yeah, and two, it's funny as well, real quick, going off what you said, on top of Harper, how many other Nationals? Schwarber played for the Nationals, Turner was a National, your new signee Joe Ross was a National as well. So Nationals all over this Phillies team.
I
But
always I always forget Schwarber was a National. Like even though he was
yeah,
only in Boston for 1 year, right? Like I think of him as Boston like more.
it's funny for how good he is, how many teams he's been on. The
Yes,
Phillies, the
that too.
Cubs, the Red Sox, the National, like yeah, he could keep going. And I will say it's funny. I don't know if it's always a social media topic as we get set for National Series. But I don't know if you remember the tweet they had back in 2020, and they were mocking Philadelphia, and they said beating Philadelphia isn't as hard as you think, or as Philadelphians say it is. Well, since that I've already seen Phillies Twitter, not the actual Phillies account, but other people about the Phillies putting out the records since that tweet. And I saw that earlier today, so I was going to throw that out as we get
It's
into the
like
series.
borderline undefeated, isn't
The
it? Like
Phillies
aren't
are 52-22 since that tweet, so a
that's
71% winning percentage since Washington put that out. So thank you,
how's that
Washington.
how's you doing over there,
Yeah.
Washington? How you doing?
So no, I'm very excited for this series. And like you said, you hope it's a series win. It's a bad team. I mean, let's be real. It's a young team they've moved to the future. A guy, Mackenzie Gore, is going to be the counter to Zach Wheeler. He's a lefty. Very weird number. You don't see many pitchers wearing the number 1, but that's what he wants to wear. Go for it. But again, he's a guy Phillies have hit around before, so I fully like a nice win here to open up the season and eventually get the series win, but especially on opening day. I think it's gonna be a fun game, and it's important to get off the good start too, as well. Braves and Mets are dealing with some injuries, so
Yeah.
it's important for the Phillies to get out the nice start here to get things rolling for ourselves and get a nice spot there. Because if you're going to win this division, it will take that before they
I
get healthy again.
I
And
think I want to
this series
save
helps.
more division talk for maybe next week's episode, but I
Yeah.
will say I agree. The Braves are the biggest question mark in this division. The Mets surprise hits last year that you expect to do even better this year. I think the Braves are, of course, going to be huge competition, but you have to see them connect and you have to see them last injuries. So I think they're my biggest question mark in the division, surprisingly over the Mets.
Yeah. I mean, I I lean a little bit more Mets because they're pitching, but like you said, we'll dive into that in future ones.
Yeah, nice. But yeah, I think you have to take game one. I just think you can't waste Wheeler. I think that's the. I I think you guys see Wheeler get I don't know, let's say 6 strikeouts. I'll bank it at 6. 6 strikeouts. Probably plays a full 7 innings. Like I expect a big first game. I think I think we show apart. And ironically, I do think there's a fun rivalry against Washington. I don't think it has anything to do with their team. It's against their fan base more than anything else, which is hilarious considering they did win a World Series after getting rid of Bryce Harper. So really they have nothing to complain about, but whatever. Let's beat them while they're down, I think is the best way to put it.
Right now, how weird is that going on the win after you get rid of your best player? But
All right, well,
no,
let's move on, I guess, unless there's anything else you want to say about the Washington Nationals series, to the kind of season predictions, I would say.
yeah, no, I'm listen. I love Zach Wheeler, obviously, but I'm very excited for Game 2 as well when Jesus Luzardo takes the mound. We talked about him being a big off-season acquisition. He's got to be huge for this team throughout the season. You get him coming in and you make him your number 2 star. So I'm really excited to see what he looks like in his first Philly start as well. I just didn't want to go without saying that one. And now, again, it's going to be intriguing to see what he has. He dealt with some injuries last year too, but his his ceiling is really high. So that's what makes me excited here.
I will say, last thing, any Phillies home run predictions for game one?
I'll take an Alec Bohm home run.
Oh, I love it. Give me a boom statement. I love it. So, yeah, Andrew, is there any props that you like going into opening day here?
Yeah, I think there's some good. You talked about the over under. I think this team. I think my official. The 90.5. I think I'd go over. I really like this team to hit that mark. I think this team's capable. I mean, this team won 95 games last year, and I truly believe top to bottom, this team's better. So I expect to hit that 90 mark again. 95 win team last year, most since 2011. I think we follow that up this year and get to that same mark, if not more.
I have a more bold prediction. I think for the first time since 2011, we hit 100 wins. I,
That is
I
a
I truly think this is our our last chance year. Like, I'm not putting any World Series futures out there, folks, but if I was, I am a betting man. If I were to tell you what to do, I think 2000 and wait, let me get these numbers right. 2023, the loss against the Diamondbacks, backs, that was the should have won the World Series year. I think 2025 is the last chance for your World Series year. I think if you win the World Series in 2025, there's a good chance of keeping that going in the future. But Andrew's already mentioned you've got contracts up this year like Schwarber. We've already mentioned age is a factor for this team. Absolutely. You've got JT, who's going to either need to be extended or replaced. I just, I think this is the year to make that statement. And if you don't win this year, majority of this team is going to change going into the next couple of years.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I think that 100 wins is a bold take. I hope it comes true. And again, listen, they got 95 last year, and let's be real. We already joked about losing that third 3 stars to Walker, right? Well, as Ranger can get healthy, you won 95 games last year, basically forfeiting almost the 5th star with how bad Walker was last year with an ERA of around 7. So you bring in Jesus Luzardo, he makes that much of a difference. You add Kepler, which solidifies the left fielder rather than platooning left field between Marsh, Rojas, Weston Wilson last year. So you did fill the holes that were needed, and you won 95 games last year. So I don't think the 100 win mark is out of the total. I'll agree with that side of it. I think the toughest part to get to 100 is outside of injuries, obviously, is how good the potential for this division is. And it would come down to do the Mets, Phillies, and Braves with how good those 3 are. Do we kind of beat each other up? That outside of obviously health goes without saying. Outside of that, I think that's your biggest challenge is can you get those division games, and that will be the difference in 100 or not.
But I just
I was going to peg us at 96 is where I was going to officially say.
I mean, I love it. I love the high 90s praise because it is truly shown, and this is what I wanted to get into next anyway, was this team is a reminder, top of the episode, we talked about the Phillies is the second most hyped team going into this MLB season, and that's for a reason. I am anticipating hard games come Mets and Braves series Absolutely. That it's not a question. It will happen. But as crazy as this is going to sound, I'm not nervous about those series. I'm nervous about the Dodgers. I'm nervous about the World Series champions going into this year. And I just truly think that the Braves and Mets, good teams. I am by no means demeaning them. I just think I just think that the season isn't really as up for grabs as I think they lead us to believe.
Oh, you're spot on again. And I was actually telling my buddy, a good buddy of mine, this the other day. And a lot of people are freaking out because of the way the last few years ended, right? I'll continue to say this. I am not worried about the regular season at all. Once again, this is
Right.
a 95 win team. This Phillies team will make the playoffs. The question is, can you make the adjustments when the time comes for the postseason? That will continue to be the biggest issue for this team. And until they prove that, that's obviously down the road. This team will be a good regular season team. This team will get to the postseason, and again, it'll come down to those division games. But again, like you said, I'm not worried about that part. We'll be worried about October when that comes down to it. And this team will have a lot going for them.
I'm excited to see it. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for a great opening day podcast on the Phillies. I'm so excited. Again, the word for the episode is excited. Cannot wait to get the season going. Cannot wait to watch the Phillies Nationals game on my birthday. Super excited about it. We're going to have a fun time. So, once again, make sure you subscribe to the Philly Gamer on YouTube and please follow and leave a 5-star review on Spotify. It means a lot and will help us moving forward. We can't wait to be your source of your Philly fan knowledge going into the Philadelphia Phillies season. So thank you everyone for listening. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on social media, links below. And I'm Zach. That's Andrew. And as always in the summer, go Phils.